Hey everyone. Thank you so much for coming out here this evening. And I think tonight we're in for, and I know I always say this, but tonight especially so, that we're in for a treat because I've been really looking forward to what Sharon and Will are going to be speaking to us about, because it's such an exciting topic. It's something that we haven't really seen much in talks like this. I think it's an area that's underserved. It's something that hasn't been explored, and it's an area where I think a lot of us kind of find challenges in when we go through the workplace. We don't take into account that part of our work that we hit into these invisible barriers. And I think I'm looking forward to seeing that torch shone on that in that area. Okay, so what I'd like to do now is to introduce our speakers. So we've got Will and Sharon, who are very accomplished. You know, every time I've gone to a talk by them, I've learned so much, and their insights and the way that they look at problems is something that's been incredibly informative for me. So very accomplished also in their fields as change managers and facilitators and agile coaches and these sorts of things, having done work for some very significant organizations. So I won't talk any longer. I will hand over to them to give you the presentation.
Thank you, John. So you want to drive the clicker, Sharon?
Have you been at work and been baffled by the sheer idiocy of the people you work with? Just out of curiosity, I just want to make sure it's not just me. No, and I'm not saying that because people are idiots. What I'm saying is that sometimes people make decisions that you can't fathom. You're like, what? Why are you doing that? And in the Agile community, have you been at work and you see senior leaders make decisions and you think, what are you thinking? Have you been at work working on your Agile implementation and you've got your backlog set up, you've got your priorities sorted, you've run the workshop, and then the people leave the workshop and do the opposite? All right, so it's not just me. It's not. What it is politics. Now, this is where it gets really, really interesting. Because politics is not a dirty word. Politics is reality. Who in this room identifies as an agilist? Yeah, good. Because you know what we bring to the world? Reality. It's what we do, isn't it? We are full frontal, in your face, here's reality, let's talk about it, people. And we get cut by politics every day. Luckily, luckily, we know how to hack the system.
Oh, none of it's working.
None of it's working.
There
we go.
Hey.
So what we're going to do this afternoon is we're going to talk to you about how you as a professional in this environment, in the Agile environment, can bring your best self to the environment and use the environment instead of being beaten by the environment. Okay? We're going to talk to you about how you use your Agile skills, how you bring the full frontal reality conversations, the visibility and the transparency to the fore, and how you can see and navigate the invisible currents inside your organization.
I think the thing is, as Agilists, a lot of times, what gets me is that what we bring to the table is we bring change to the table, wherever we are, wherever we're working, whatever our job title is. And oftentimes we have things, processes, or a new ceremony, a new way of doing things, a new way of looking at things or thinking about things. We bring that to the table, and we know in our hearts that it will help the people that we're working with. It will help us. It will help the organization to realize more value and do it with less pain involved. And so many times it can be frustrating that people do what Sharon was saying, and they turn the other cheek. You're told, no, sorry, that won't work here. Not now. The time isn't right. Do we hear these things at work? And it's frustrating. But it's not that people don't like the ideas or that they don't like you. What this is it's politics at play. And politics are happening. One of the questions we had a question not that long ago. How big does the organization have to be for there to be politics in it, in your opinion? And I think my answer was more than one. If there's more than one person working in the organization, there are politics at play. And this is not just in government organizations. So I've worked in federal, state, local governments, and it's, of course, there's politics at play there. There's the obvious one, like the room on the picture there, the right-hand side there. That's obviously at play there. But what we're talking about here is not that, although I am American, but please don't drag me into a political discussion tonight. It's not the right time or place for that. But we're not talking about that. What we're talking about is the interpersonal politics that are at play within every organization. And often this has a bad connotation. We're told to avoid office politics. Don't sink down to that level. Don't engage with these things. But what we're here to talk about tonight is that's a dream world. If you're not engaging with it, then you're not hacking the system. You're actually playing the game, because it's easy to sideline somebody that's not engaging, right? But what this isn't is it's not a way to better manipulate people or a way to better manipulate situations. We're Agilists. About half of us in the room are Agilists. The other half, based on the fact that you're here, I think you would describe yourself as an Agilist based on this. But we're not here to do devious things. We're here to do the right thing, and that's what this is about: is helping the organization.
And that's exactly right. So when you drill down into what is government, the rules of government are the government is there to help the organisation or the population that they're working with to achieve better outcomes. That's what government is about. Politics is the relationships that happen inside that government. And politics are driven by agendas. That's what gets us. If you're unable to see the agendas, if you're unable to drive the agendas, if you're unable to connect to the right people and support their agendas, we're not going to make headway. So one of the things that Will and I have spoken about at length is how do we normalise politics? How do we make politics into something that is not shameful or hidden or that stuff we don't talk about? And we're Agilists, so we talk about the stuff, right? Okay, we have no fear about that. We're going to have those robust conversations. So what we wanted to do was we wanted to create a body of work that allowed us to engage in politics without the fear, without the Machiavellian overtones, without the feeling that we're manipulating people. And if we can just go back a slide, one of the things that we're working on is creating this thing called PQ. PQ stands for your political quotient. We're familiar with IQ, general knowledge, application of knowledge. We're familiar with EQ, emotional quotient, application of your emotions in the appropriate way in the workplace, managing yourself and working with others in a way that adds engagement. We realise there's a gap in terms of PQ. Do we know how to politic? Do we? Now, I was very lucky, very, very early on in my career. Someone said to me, Sharon, you're really bad at politics. And I was. And it was. I said, yes, I am, because politics is evil and dirty and ugly and we don't want to do that. And this person said to me, there is no way you're getting ahead without politics. I'm like, what do you mean? Truth and honesty and self-righteousness and virtue, they're all the things that Hollywood tells us will achieve the solution. We've all been told that, haven't we? Yeah? We do the right thing, always be the superhero and you will overcome all things. And it's like, yeah, no, that doesn't work. Now, the thing that message brings to it is us and them. That message about overcoming adversity is good versus bad. It's all about whose side are you on. And that's the opposite of agile. That's the opposite of everything that we are here to do as agilists. Because we're here to create community. We're here to create engagement. We're here to break down those barriers and to create alignment. And when you get to the core of it, agility is all about flexing and adjusting to the environment you're in. So there is not one true way of being agile. There is not one way of truth and righteousness and I can wear my big agile superhero cape and swan through the office telling everyone what to do. That's not. No. I know we like to, but no. But that's not what it's about. What it's about is creating the right environment for growth, creating the right environment for your agenda to align with other people's agenda and for us to move forward. Now, Will alluded to the fact that he's from America, all right? Now, at the moment in the world, we're seeing bipartisan politics play out writ large. We've seen it through history. That's not what politics is about. Politics is about creating relationships and alignment to create better outcomes for the people that we're working with. That's what we call PQ. And we're going to show you how to hack this system to really amplify the impact that you have.
So the first thing you have to, I was a little click happy with the, little trigger happy with the thing here. But the first thing you have to do if you want to start to engage and raise your PQ is you have to orient yourself. And best way to orient yourself, I was in orienteering whenever I was young, but the first thing you have to do is you have to have a map of the politics in your organization. So the first thing you might say, okay, great, that sounds like a good idea. I'm going to go on to SharePoint and I'm going to find the org chart and I'm going to download that and that will orient me to the politics. And that is probably the worst thing you could do. Because org charts do not show true power and influence. They don't even necessarily give a good indication of it. They're not useful for orienting yourself to what's really going on. Your second protocol, you could say, well, you know, we love a good 2x2, right? We can do it on a whiteboard and we could do here's the consultant saying, yeah, you could do a 2x2. But you could put a stakeholder matrix and you could do that. That's useful, interest and influence, that sort of thing. Also doesn't really show you where the power and the influence is necessarily within an organization. What you need to do first is you need to create a true map for the politics that are at play in an organization. And it has to be oriented to a specific goal. So you have to know what the goal is of what you're trying to do. If you're trying to change what's an example of a goal? What's an example of any goal?
Flow of work to a team.
If you're trying to change how work flows into a team versus, say, how work is tested end to end. It's a very different goal. There's going to be different politics at play. There's going to be different people. There's going to be different structures of power and influence. You have to have the goal first so that you can then orient yourself to that goal. Does this make sense? Okay. You sure it does?
How do you know it makes sense?
Focus.
What focus?
The direction that we want to head
Mm-hmm.
with this political map and how to influence that direction to the focus that we've got.
Okay, cool. Anyone else? How would you know that what Will said just made sense?
I'm giving him feedback that, yes, Will, it makes sense.
All right. Now, so this is politics. We've just trapped you in politics. We're at the front.
Sorry.
We've got the camera going. We've got the mics on. We've said something deeply profound. And we've said, do you agree? And you've said, yes. We win every day. This is politics. So when you are working inside the organisation and you are talking about your goals and you're talking about orienting, you've got to be really, really explicit. And thank you so much, because it was a great answer. And you were really explicit. But these are the hidden bits that we miss.
Are you open to questions along the way?
Absolutely.
Okay, so let me be the devil's advocate.
Brilliant.
In my experience, the political power inside large organisations very much depends upon what cycle we're in economically. For
Yes.
example, remuneration surveys going back 40 years would show that in good times, good economic times, the head of sales and marketing is probably going to be the next CEO.
Yep.
In bad times, like recessions we had to have in 89 to 92,
Yep.
CFOs rose to the CEO position. So the power base within an organisation politically surely is going to change depending on which cycle we're in.
100% it is. Absolutely. And that's why, but in that same time, not all org charts changed, right? But you're absolutely 100% right. And that's why the map is a living thing. It changes over time. It is not a set and forget. You create it. Well, we're going to create one here in a second.
Did you not just say also that the map changes depending on the goal you're focusing on?
Yes.
It does. It absolutely does. As well as the context that it exists in.
So you will have multiple maps.
Yeah, multiple maps. Yeah.
Correct.
Or one map, but it's multiple layers or twists depending on which goal you're thinking about at the moment.
Yes. Yes.
The real answer is it depends.
You got me. Isn't that always the answer, though?
Absolutely.
You know,
And then you can do a discussion.
Yeah, that's right. It depends on the context, what's going on in the world or what's going on in the economy. It depends on what it is you're trying to do or what it is you're trying to change in the organization. It depends on the people. So people change. Yes.
So another dynamic in that, in a way in which Agilists may be able to get an insight into what the politics might be before they even walk in the door, is if it's a listed company, check out the press releases that have been issued, any major company announcements, acquisitions, mergers, divestments, whatever, because that's probably going to also give you some idea of where the political power base is going to be and the appetite for change within the organisation at that time.
It'll give you an idea at a macro level. It's very useful information. Absolutely. And whenever we're going in to work with a new client, that's 100% the things that we're doing. And I'd recommend it to anybody to do. It won't tell you at the micro level, though. You know, who's on the floor that's, that might be a relatively junior person, but that everybody listens to them. They've been there forever and they hold a considerable amount of power, although they are never going to hit the yearly reporting cycles or anything like that. You know, they're never going to hit the news, but they hold an incredible amount of influence and an incredible amount of power with the people. But yes, that's a great place to get the macro level.
Well, I'm going to let you guys keep on, but I feel like it's a cross between Danger Will Robinson and go to the coffee machine in the kitchen. To validate, like this is the combination.
Well, so you've said the key word here, validate. And to your point, yes, we've got to do the research. But what we do is we often carry it around in our heads. And in your head, you will make assumptions and connections that aren't valid. So what Will's about to introduce us to is the concept of getting it out of your head, getting it onto paper so you can see whether or not your assumptions or what you've been told is actually correct. And we're going to walk you through this so you can figure it out as you go and you can help validate. Mel said the perfect word. We help validate, have we got the right people in the right places to achieve the goal? Because oftentimes...
It's contagious.
We've been having this conversation. Will says oftentimes, and now I've got it. But what we'll find is what we assume to be true is not true.
So what you observe often is in an organization, the one who is the most political is often the most quiet, not
Can be.
to be found.
Can be, yes.
Can be.
So
How do you spot it?
that's right, on that web.
Over to Will. He's going to show you.
Yeah,
Well, we're going to show
let's go
you.
through it. Let's create a map. There's paper and pens on the table. I want to say one thing real quick, though, just to the danger Will Robinson part. And how I've also just said, don't pay any attention to the org chart. Please, at the end of today, we're going to have a plan for things you can do on Monday, okay? Please don't let any of those plans have something career limiting in there, because I really don't want to get the phone call that comes up and says, hey, Sharon and Will, you told me it's okay to tell the CEO that, you know. Oh, right, okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Is it a good team review first? Like, you know, your level? Do you think?
We're gonna get to
We're going to
that.
get there. Let's do
All
one.
right, look at
Let's
you
do-
guys. You're like,
let's
show
do-
me, show me, show me.
Let's do a worked example. Let's do a worked example, okay? So we're going to create a map. So on the tables and on the benches around the room, you'll see some A4 paper and some colored pens. Now, color will matter here in a second. But what I'd like everybody to do first, and you can do this individually, I'd like you at the top of the page to write a goal. This can be a real thing, so something at work. What is a goal that you have in your day job right now? Might be something new that you just make up right now that you haven't been working on forever. It could be something that you've been, like we were saying at the beginning, been trying to get some change into the organization, but everybody's just telling you it's not time or not ready yet, this sort of thing. It could be something like that. But the first thing we're going to need is we're going to need that goal at the top of the page.
Now, I've got to tell you a secret. My undergraduate degree was a Bachelor of Science with a double major in geography, where I specialised in cartography.
Goal-oriented.
Yeah. So when I started to talk to Will about this and he said, oh, we need a map, I'm like, yes! Because I know how to make maps. The top of the map is always north, right? Top of the map is always north, and it always has the title on it. So this is why we want you to put your goal at the top of the page, because this is your map to your goal. Okay?
I'm laughing because I spoke to David about this morning. I always start in the middle.
You what?
I always start in the middle.
Well, we're going to get there. But the goal at the top, this is the title. And this is to help you stay oriented. Because if you start to do the map and you realise that you're actually mapping something else, get another piece of paper. Okay? It's just there as a reminder of what map am I creating now? And you will have multiple maps. And sticky tape.
Yes.
If you're lucky.
And then the next thing we're going to do, we're going to go straight to the middle. We can start in the middle because that's where we should start. and you're going to draw yourself in the middle. Now, just an icon. This isn't do some interpretive drawing of yourself. You can if you'd like, though. But draw yourself in the middle. And then you're going to need to draw everybody else or groups of people that are involved with your goal, directly or indirectly.
We'll get there.
In a sec.
Just
right
draw
now,
them.
just we use one color for right now. One color is fine for all this.
Connections. You're just doing the identification of locations here. Okay. So if you think about a map and a country map or a town map, it has locations. Now maps are specifically designed to have locations relative to each other. We're going to put in the relativity suit. So draw yourself, draw your boss, draw your peers, draw the people you work with, draw your customers.
Yes, but I see more than one person on the map, though.
So just identify those locations, because that's what they are. It's a map, and these are locations. Now, we're going to talk about the different things they are locations of. But just draw them. Who do you think are on your map? We've given you an example here. Me, my boss Sandra, Sandra's boss Alan, Anna, the CEO. They're people who are part of the environment. The folks in accounting, the logistics team, my peers at leadership level, my team, other agile coaches in the organisation.
You see, there's so much disdain.
What? Other agile coaches? No.
We are agile coaches.
We're all agile coaches. No. No. Did it come across like that? I hope not. No, I love agile coaches. Oh, good. I love agile coaches. They're my favourite.
Question: the map
Yep.
Are they designed to map out
You're all our
goals
favorites.
with individuals or entity that you have direct relationship
Nope.
with, or does it extend beyond that? So there's a level 1, there's a direct, and then there's a shadow influence on that individual by another entity.
Yes, but we're going to get to that mapping. If
So we don't look at that right now.
not yet, let's just get them out there, because
Just the
when we
people.
start, we're going to say, "Oh, but what about? What about? What about?" And we're going to expand that as well. But yes, anyone that immediately comes to mind, get them down.
Now, the next thing we need to do is we need to start to layer some data on the map, to use the GIS thing again. My wife works in GIS as well, so we're dangerous whenever it comes to mapping here. Sorry, has a degree in it, but my home wife has actually works in it as well.
Greta and I catch up more than Will and I.
It's true. Now, color's going to matter. We need to know, of those people that you have, are they allies, neutral, or active resistors for your goal? Now, an ally, these are going to be the people that whenever we say, hey, I've got a new idea, we should do X, Y, and Z instead of A, B, and C. And they think about it and they say, that's a fantastic idea. Tell me how I can help. I want to be on board with this one. Let's go. They're your early adopters, your people who are just on the bus. As soon as you tell them there is a bus, they're on it. Then you have your people who are neutral. So it can be perceived, and it might come across as some resistance because they're not right on the bus. And we're very excited about things, and we just want, get on the bus. The bus is going to be fun. It's air conditioned. It's hot outside. That sort of thing, right? But they're not. They're still standing there at the bus stop. But I don't like to think of them as resistors, though, because they're neutral. versus somebody who is an active resistor. And these are the people that are going to tell you all about why it won't work. They are going to tell you that, nope, that's not the way things are done here, the way we tried that back in 2002, and or I don't agree with that. They're the active resistors. So we need to know what category each of those falls into. And we're going to color code this. So color code the line from you to that person with a color. It doesn't have to be the colors that are here. There's different colors on your table. But do a legend on the side of your map so you remember what color is what. In other words, blue is a ally, that sort of thing.
What if sometimes they're neutral, sometimes they're not?
Sometimes they're neutral, sometimes they're not.
There you're going.
For the same goal.
I guess no.
This is hard. Do you need more colors?
Okay, so that's why it's super important to orient it to the goal. So think about the one goal. And on a different map, that same person might be in a different color. And that's cool. That's all good. How are you?
We have more colors
Good to
if
see
you
you.
need it.
Where do people who will only organize their
Well, that's what we want you to think about. That's what we want you to think about. So map the current state,
That's not unimportant.
okay? Because you're talking about a future state. And that's where the next stage that Will's going to share with you, okay? So if you map the current state, you want to then identify the people you want to move in a different direction, okay? That's that. So if you've got people like that, yeah, you're always going to have resistance because people aren't naturally going to agree with you because people are people.
How about people that do agree with you?
Yep.
You leave the meeting, you write up all the steps and the
Yep.
change in the process. You
Yep.
get back into the next meeting going, this is what we discussed, this is what we changed, and they go, no, we can't do that.
No, we can't. Yeah.
Ah, brilliant
Sorry,
question.
I didn't hear. What was the
Can
question?
you share that with Will because Will is going to answer that.
That's a resistance, I think.
Like the teams that you have a meeting to work on, so they're working with you and we're all working together. We have
Yeah.
a meeting, a workshop.
Yep.
We have like a decision made and we go off and do the outstanding activities like create process map, do the SOPs, do all of that. We get back into the next meeting for the next review. You've sent all those out for review. Get into the next meeting, go, that's not what we've discussed, that's not what we're going to do and we can't do that.
Ah,
And then they're resistant. So they work with you actively and want the goal.
right.
And then come back like a week or two later and cut
Okay.
everything out of your legs.
Excellent resistance.
Okay.
Yeah.
This sounds familiar. Yes, you can.
To make matters worse, at the end of that
You two work together. You work together. Oh, you don't? Okay. 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 Right.
we are just the victims of the same grade.
Right.
Well, hang on. Can I just answer? Well, can one of us answer
Go
that
ahead, go ahead.
question? So what you have uncovered in that situation is the hidden agenda. Okay? So in public or the first time they meet you or as part of that workshop, they're like, oh yeah, this sounds good. And then they've gone away and something's happened and it doesn't align.
Yeah.
Right? So that's where your map comes into play because you leave that workshop, you look at your map and you thought they were allies and now they're not. Marking them as not because
Because of that.
something has happened.
Yeah.
And these are what Will was talking about, the invisible currents that we don't see. So we've got to see them. The whole point of the map, and this is the best thing about any map, a map is theoretical until you've gone on the journey. You don't know what the road actually is. Okay, so map makers are great dreamers. The first time you make your map, you think, yes, they're allies. Yes, there are no crocodiles in the river. And then you get to the river. All right?
Yes.
And you realize, oh, okay, so I'm going to need to go a different route.
Yes.
You've discovered a hidden impediment. So that's brilliant.
Yeah.
So that's that one, and then I'll leave.
Mine was a small point that at the end of that meeting,
Yep.
you did a run through, and they even endorsed and agreed.
Oh,
That yes,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
And then when you went to the next one, they went, oh no.
Yeah, it's a very variation on the theme, right? And that's why, to what we were talking about earlier, these, once you create this map, now that you've created this map, this is a living thing. And just like whenever I was in orienteering, whenever I was, however old I was, 12 or 13 or something like that, and we'd go off in the bush and with our compass and our paper map. They probably use Google Maps now, don't they? Anyway. Go off into the bush and you'd come out and you'd have blood on your map and there's dirt on it and it's been in the water and there's a corner torn off and you've got notes written. Same thing with this. Hopefully we can avoid the blood on them, but it's the same sort of thing with this. These are living documents. So in testing these with some of the transformations that we work in with some of our clients, we have, well, one of them did in Miro. And so it doesn't have the crumpled up effect, but I prefer to work physical. So I love just pen and paper and just physical for my own personal note-taking and stuff like that. Because this isn't to be shared. This isn't an artifact that gets shared with anybody. This is for you. And they are updated. Colors have changed. Things have been scribbled. This is a living thing. So, set it right here.
I have a map like this, like you said, in my head. And there's a person that we go out to coffee, have the coffee talks and everything. And his view of the map is different to mine.
Yep.
And I can't validate his, like he says this, how do you know that? Like, where do you get that from? Like, I can't see it, kind of thing.
And the thing is, we said at the beginning, the murky world of politics. It is murky. And it is subject to your perspective on the world. But if you have identified that you and somebody else have slightly different maps, guess what you have now? Something to talk about. And that's what we're good at, right? It's collaboration. So you now have a basis to have a conversation, which is a win. You're already winning.
Nick, did you have a question?
I do have a question.
Oh. Sorry, did you have one?
I think it's been answered. I just wanted to find out, sorry I walked in a little bit late, but those, allies, active resistors, that is subjective to you.
Yes.
100%.
Your goal, your perspective.
All right. So I have found that sometimes the people that I label as active resistors were actually the best allies in the project.
They are. They're hard work, though, because what an active resistor is going to tell you all about why it's not going to work. At one point, very early on in my career, I made the mistake of labeling somebody a white ant. And I said, they're undermining what we're doing. Fast forward a couple years, turns out they were just an active resistor. And once I dedicated the effort to that person, and they came on board, they were the biggest advocate. They're still a dear friend to this day, but I learned the hard way and almost to the point where I wouldn't have a dear friend right now. So your active resistors are 100% worth the time, because once they're on your bus or on the bus, they will be the biggest advocate that you have, bigger than any of your allies. 100% agree.
Just add one thing too. There's been many times I've asked for one thing, I didn't get the thing I needed, but I asked it the same thing through a different person.
Yep.
And that happens. That works.
Brilliant. All right, so that's where I wanted to go. Can I get to you in a tick? Yeah? Because this first iteration of the map is just the lay of the land as it stands right now. Okay? This is virgin territory. We haven't travelled these paths. This is just how we think it's going to be. All right? We are explorers of the future. So the first round of the map is us saying, what do we think, based on what we've seen so far, is the current state. Okay? Because now we move into the next stage. Because we need a map to help us navigate to the future. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to start to look at the deliberate engagement of the people that we have put on our map. We want to identify the boundaries. Now, I don't want to use country borders because I don't want to have the us versus them. But what we're identifying is, what are those relationships? Who are my go-to peeps? Who are the people that if I want a quick and easy yes, I just reach out and I say, hey, can you help me? And they're going to go, yep. Yeah? But I know that that is very context dependent. It depends on my goal matching their goal. So I need to know what my map is for my goal, and I need to look at them in the context of, do our goals overlap? Because they may be the best friend ever. They may be an ally in many things, but if you go to them and ask them for something that isn't in alignment with their goals, they're going to say no. And so they should. So that's the next thing that we want you to think about.
And I think I've actually had someone say to me, I totally agree with you.
Mm-hmm.
I 100% think we should do that. If you ask me publicly, I will deny you and disown you.
Yep.
So be careful.
Yeah, because people have different goals to you. And, you know, as Agilistas, we honestly believe that people are on the side of truth and righteousness, and they want the world to be a better place and to run off Kanban boards, and we just have a shared backlog and, you know, oh,
Make everything
life be
visible,
so much
transparent,
easier. All right?
shared problem solving.
100%.
Yes.
But we're not. We're a fleet of vehicles, okay? And this is where we've got to look at it. So this is the next step. Talk us through the next step.
Yeah, so the next thing to do is to draw the type of boundaries, or draw boundaries around the types of relationships that you have with the people on your map. And the three types we're going to talk about here are direct relationships. So you have direct one-on-one communication. You go and catch up for coffee virtually or physically. That direct communication with them. Second type is influence. So you have some influence over them, they have some influence over you, but not that direct one-on-one communication. Versus awareness. They know you exist, you know they exist. They may or may not know about your goal, but they're aware of you.
In relationship to the goal, right?
Yes.
I can have coffee with someone, have a direct relationship, but it's not.
And you could talk about the footy on the weekend or something like that, but they have no idea what you do for work. Related to the goal. Related to the goal. That's it. That's it. And there are some people that might not be captured. If they're not aware of you, they're not aware of your goal, they might not be captured by any of those boundary lines at all. And that's okay. That's okay. But this is current state, what currently is.
So do we overlay that on the arrows?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
What if you have a direct relationship with someone, but they're not aligned to your goal?
Put them down as a resistor.
Yeah, got that, but in this exercise.
Yeah.
So they're a resistor and you have a direct relationship with them. Great. Then I would have a direct relationship in that boundary, but still a resistor.
And then we're going to talk about that next.
Yes.
So we need you to identify that. Because once you've identified that, then you're on the journey. Okay? So cool. So this is why we want you to do this, because oftentimes when you start to engage with people, if you haven't done this, you will go to someone and you'll say, here's something that is very, very common sense and logical and will make us all lots of money. And they will nod at you and then do the opposite. And you need to know that. right? Because this is where your exploration of the future has to have the right things as part of your journey. So if you know that you have direct influence with someone, that means you can pick up the phone and you can say, Sandra, we need to talk. And you can say that, and then you can engage with them in a very deliberate way. You can say, this is Mel and me. Mel, we need to talk. Mel says, sure, Sharon, what? I'm going to say, well, Mel, we have agreed a goal of blah, 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 but you are doing blah, blah, blah. And she's going to come back swinging. And exactly. And that's what you want. It's a direct conversation, right? And we'll probably be able to thrash it out. Right? Yeah, we'll get there.
We don't want blood on our maps.
No blood. But if it's indirect, I can't ring Dan, for example. Well, I can, but because I know him well. But I can't ring him and say, dude, you got to help me out here. I may actually have to approach him in a different way. And I have to be very deliberate in that. And then if I've got someone who only vaguely is aware of what we're trying to achieve and the goals that I have or our team has, then I have to very deliberately think about how can I move them from being aware of what we're aiming for into that influence sphere. And then what can I do to really create a direct connection to that person? Okay? Because that's how we make change stick.
So I'm guessing a good example of you going to the next level will be, I really like what you're going to do, but my KPIs point in the opposite direction.
Yeah. It's a great one, isn't it? So we've got misalignment in what we want to do versus what we're being tasked to do. So then we start to have a conversation. How can we change the KPIs? How can we create the outcome that is good for you and good for me? Now, when you say it like that, it sounds terrible, doesn't it? Sounds like politics. Guess what? It's politics. But it is deliberate, intentional engagement. You can use it for evil if you want. We prefer that you use it for good and you focus on how are you going to create an environment that's beneficial for you and your goals. Sorry, Mel?
I think what you meant was that we're aligned on a common goal for unity and the greater good.
Yeah, 100%. Now, what you'll often find...
Yes. See, you got. I'm not doing it anymore.
I know. It's like too much working together, I tell you. But what you will find is that you can be aligned on the goal, but not on the how. And if you are able to bring that conversation into that direct sphere, then people will stop rejecting it out of hand because you've discovered it's not the why, it's not the what, it's the how. And we can fix that. But if you have people who are absolutely opposite to your why, then you've got to have very deliberate engagement with them, particularly if they are key players on your map.
Now the hard part is that one of the things that this relies on is locus of control, if you're familiar with that concept. If you're not, it's that we have it's how much we believe. So this is a belief thing. How much we believe we have control over our life. In the context of this, we're going to say what's our belief of how much control we have in the context of our organization, the politics, and the types of relationships that are at play. And what we're going to suggest you do is push that locus of control out. There is way more in your control than you will ever realize. For all of us. It's true for all of us. please use this for the powers of good, but we are able to influence much more than any of us realize. But you have to do it with intent. It's the most important thing. Step one, realize that you can control a lot more than you think you can, but do it with intent. And the way to do that is to create a plan. So for your map, this might be on the back of the page or on another page, or if you folded your page, you can do it on the back, however you want to do it. Write down the things that you're going to do. So pick one connection. It could be that person that you were talking about earlier that is a direct connection, but is a active resistor. You could pick that one. You could pick another one. Pick one connection on your map. You don't have to do everything. You can take this with you and do the rest of them later. But write down what that connection is, and then write what you can do to build more influence with them, to build the awareness of your goal, or to create a direct connection where one hasn't existed before. So write the actions. It's probably more than one for each connection. Pick one connection and write some actions for things you can do on Monday or tomorrow. You don't have to wait till Monday if you don't want.
Now, this table is really important because you'll have gaps in this table. You won't be able to fill in every cell. You won't be able to fill in every column. You won't be able to fill in every row. But that tells you as much as the cells that you can fill in, okay? Because that tells you where you will probably have to focus your energy. If you can sit down and fill this table in straight away and they're all direct connections and you're going to have coffee with everyone and they're all going to be on your side straight away, then you probably need a different map.
Yeah, time for a new goal.
Yeah.
Because that one's already achieved.
Yeah, you've already got that one. So you really need to think about it, and you won't be able to fill in every cell. And you won't have the answers straight away. And when you look at this, and it says indirect, go and talk to Fred's boss, how many of you thought, ooh, that's a bit political, isn't it? You betcha. Because if you need Fred to achieve your goal, you have to figure out how to influence Fred. And if Fred has never heard of you and won't answer your emails and won't pick up the phone and has now seen you, so knows what you look like and goes the other way when you ambush them, you're going to have to create more awareness, okay? But this is about you being very deliberate and intentional in how you engage them. And this is something that we trip up all of the time because we work from the basis of our beliefs rather than the basis of their beliefs. By creating the map and then you figuring out how you can very deliberately engage in one of these levels with that person or that group of people, you are going to start to get more cut through because you've thought it through. You're not just going on impulse.
Can I just say that sometimes when you're seeking to achieve change, that's the most powerful thing, in my experience, that you can do.
100%.
So I had a situation where I had two people that didn't report to me, but I needed them to do a lot of work.
Mm-hmm.
Basically mutinized, went to my boss,
Mm-hmm.
and my boss came to me and said, can you come to my office, please?
Mm.
And he said, Christine and Stephen are saying you're asking them to do this, and they don't want to do it. Can you please explain why it's necessary for them to do it? And when I explained it in front of all three of them, he turned to them and said, well, put their heads down. He said, fine, do it. Everyone's dismissed. And it was the only way we ever would have got to affect that change.
Yeah.
So sometimes that can be the most powerful way to get there, even though it seems inappropriate.
It relates also to something I was going to say. So as you're doing this and creating these actions, so I guess one important thing to note, this is one aspect of PQ. There are many others, but one of those others is understanding what other people's goals are, right? So we have our goal, but you have to also, as you're creating these actions, you have to know what Fred and accounting's goal is. You have to know what's motivating the people who don't want to do the thing. What is their goal? And we need to know, because oftentimes there's a misalignment of those goals, right? And we can create actions to bring them more into harmony with each other.
But it is also another example of the great good.
Yep.
Yeah.
From an organisation.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. Now, this is where I want us to be really, really careful, because good for you may not be good for them. And that's why Will's saying when we do this in the bigger picture, we're just giving you a segment of what PQ looks like. This is not the totality of PQ. This is just part of it. You really do have to understand other people's motivations. And you actually want to create a win-win dynamic. What's good for you, good for them, good for us. Because we've got to be aware of that.
And sometimes that requires more groundwork than just going straight in and marching in and just getting that influence and getting them to do the thing. Sometimes it requires more groundwork to create the win-win sort of scenario. But yeah, you have to understand the goals.
We're just got to move on. We'll be here afterwards. No. No, John's going to actually leap to his feet any minute now and say, shut up.
So what we need to do, create a plan. Like everything, hey, we're Agilists, right? So this won't be a surprise, but it's adaptive planning. We should follow some sort of rolling planning structure. You need to have feedback loops in place because things will change on your map. You're going to have new actions, new goals, new people that emerge over time. A living document. Plan how you're going to do the check-ins and be deliberate and open. This isn't something to be hidden and squirreled away and like, I will apply my politics on you. You know, this is open. This is meant to be open, just like everything else we do as Agilists. Well, that's Sharon, I'm Will.
Just in case you haven't figured that out yet.
But as core state, we do work in transformation, work in the transformation space. That's our bread and butter. And we love it. And thank you. And there is, if you're interested in more about the rest of PQ and the other elements, QR code will take you there. Thank you very much. We'll hang out for a little bit if there's any questions.
Thank you so much. What did I tell you at the beginning that this was going to be an amazing talk, and I think Sharon and Will definitely delivered against that objective.
Oh, thank you.
So I think we've all moved from the category of being in the neutrals bit to being in the positively supporting bit because of the influence that you've had over us during this talk.
Oh, look, it works. In action.
See? We told you it was politics at play.
So thanks again to Will for the venue and to you and you. So as I think it was mentioned a bit earlier, is that we've still got some pizzas at the back there. There's a couple of beers, some wine. So I think he said if we stay here beyond 8, then things get a bit muggy because the air conditioning goes off. But stay and enjoy a bit of networking. If you've got any questions for Paul and Sharon, then I'm sure you guys will stick around for a little bit.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Cool.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
So our question to you, before we all get up and run away and go home to our significant others, was that useful?
Yes.
Did you learn things that will help? Right, we're really keen on feedback.
In front of your face or tomorrow?
It's you. I know how it's coming, right? But yeah, give us your thoughts. We're not hard to find. The link is there. The PQ course is all about adding to this stuff. So mapping is one part, your personal brand, awareness, goals. There's so much that goes into it. But this is just one that we thought would be a good takeaway. So if you thought it was a good takeaway, please let us know and feel free to share. Brilliant. Thank you so much for your time. And ask any questions. We're here.